I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Monday, November the 18th, 2013. French President François Hollande arrived in Israel yesterday and met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem, as well as with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. Hollande addressed Israel's Knesset today, where he praised the Jewish state for its achievements over the past 65 years and in its struggle and establishment of the State of Israel. He also reiterated France's strong commitment to Israel's security and friendship to the State of Israel, as well as France's strong stance against anti-Semitism. Yesterday, together with Netanyahu, Hollande addressed a press conference in Jerusalem where he reiterated France's position regarding Iran. Hollande said that France would not surrender to nuclear proliferation and would stand firm by its demands on the Iranians before consenting to an interim agreement. He said France was demanding that all Iran's nuclear installations be placed under international controls, the suspension of all uranium enrichment to 20%, the reduction of existing stockpiles of enriched uranium, and a complete halt to the construction of the heavy water reactor at Arak. Netanyahu praised Hollande for his tough stance. He said France has stood up for what's right, and I appreciate that. Hollande also met with Israeli President Shimon Peres yesterday, where he called on both Israel and the Palestinians to do more for the peace process. Hollande said he believed both Israel and the Palestinians need to make gestures in order to push the peace process forward, saying Israel started releasing prisoners, but gestures are needed on the settlement issue as well. And in a meeting today with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, Hollande called for an end to settlement construction for the sake of peace. At a news conference with Abbas, Hollande said, for the sake of peace and to reach a deal, France calls for the total and definitive end to settlement building because it compromises the two-state solution. Reuters reports that Russian President Vladimir Putin told Iranian President Hassan Rouhani today that there was a, quote, real chance to resolve the standoff between Iran and world powers. Putin and Rouhani spoke on the phone just a few days ahead of talks between Iran and the P5+1 that are set to resume in Geneva. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is set to travel to Moscow later this week to meet with Putin and make his case against a deal with Iran that would entail the easing of sanctions. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu announced at the weekly cabinet meeting that he held yesterday that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will be returning to Israel at the end of this week to discuss the Iran issue as well as the issue of Israel's peace talks with the Palestinians. Netanyahu called Kerry an old friend who is also a friend of Israel, and told the cabinet, I would like to make it clear that there can be disagreements even among the best of friends, certainly on issues related to our future and our fate. The World Jewish Daily reports, citing a report from Great Britain's Sunday Times, that claims that Israel and Saudi Arabia are cooperating regarding the possibility of an attack against Iran if world powers allow the Islamic Republic to continue enriching uranium towards the goal of achieving a nuclear weapon. In an article in the British paper yesterday entitled Two Old Foes Unite Against Iran, the report says that Israel's Mossad intelligence agency is working with Saudi officials on contingency plans for a possible attack on Iran if its nuclear program is not significantly curbed. Saudi Arabia has reportedly already given the go-ahead for Israeli planes to use its airspace in the event of an attack on Iran. The report also quotes a diplomatic source saying the Saudis are willing to assist Israel by cooperating with the use of drones, rescue helicopters, and tanker planes. The unnamed source told the paper the Saudis are furious and are willing to give Israel all the help it needs. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has reportedly rejected the resignation of Chief PLO negotiator Saeb Erekat. As we reported to you last week, several members of the Palestinian negotiating team said that they were resigning over the lack of progress in the talks with Israel and Israel's continuing settlement construction. Palestinian sources told the London-based Asharq al-Awsat newspaper on Sunday that Abbas asked Erekat not to resign, but that if he does resign, Abbas would look for someone else to head the team. Another member of the Palestinian negotiating team who reportedly submitted his resignation as well is Mohammed Shtayyeh, who, according to the London-based Al Hayat, is determined not to withdraw that resignation. Despite the reported resignations, Abbas has said talks with Israel would continue, and Israel Radio reported today that Israel's chief negotiator Tzipi Livni told them that her Palestinian counterpart was, quote, back in business, and that talks would be resuming. Israel Radio reports that the Palestinian Authority will be providing a monthly stipend to the Palestinian security prisoners recently released by Israel. The prisoners who were convicted of terrorist activities before the Oslo Accords of 1993, released by Israel as a gesture to PA President Abbas at the restart of peace talks, will receive a $50,000 payment from the PA and a monthly stipend. A senior Palestinian official told Israel Radio this was to allow the men to begin their lives anew. The Jerusalem Post reports that it was revealed yesterday that an al-Qaeda terrorist with roots in global jihad has been held for the past 3 years under administrative detention in Israel. Samer Abed al-Latif al-Barak, a Palestinian, has reportedly been held in Israel since 2010, and Israel's defense establishment is asking for a 6-month extension of that detention, which expires in a few days. Barak was allegedly involved in planning terrorist attacks against Israelis and Jews in Jordan throughout 2001. He agreed to train Palestinian terrorists in the production of poisons in order to carry out attacks against Israelis. The U.S. reportedly arrested Barak for his activities for al-Qaeda, questioned and detained him, and in 2003 handed him over to the Jordanian authorities, who held him until 2008. Israel arrested him 2 years later. Former Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, Yonah Metzger, was arrested by Israeli authorities this morning on charges of taking a bribe, fraud, breach of trust, and conspiracy to interfere with an investigation. Metzger and 3 other men are suspected of being involved in the stealing of millions of shekels from various charities. Metzger was remanded into custody for 9 days this morning by Justice Menachem Mizrahi of the Rishon LeZion Magistrates Court. Metzger's lawyers said that their client was questioned for a few hours and that he answered all questions and cooperated fully, and that Metzger denies all the accusations against him. Thousands of Catholics from across the globe marked an International Day of Faith yesterday in Nazareth. The event marked what both the Catholic Church and Israeli officials said was a new era of cooperation in advance of Pope Francis's expected visit to the region sometime next year. Israel's tourism minister Uzi Landau said that this event not only symbolizes a day or year of faith, it is symbolic of the desired future coordination between the State of Israel and the Catholic Church.
Comfort sex includes many...
And tonight on Shalom TV, the premiere of The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth Westheimer. It's tonight at 7. American icon and this generation's premier sex therapist, Dr. Ruth, returns to television with a weekly program on the Shalom TV channel, airing Monday nights at 7 and repeated throughout the week. You can check the website, shalomtv.com, for further details. That's The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth Westheimer, premiering tonight at 7. And then at 8 tonight, Deputy National Editor for the New York Times, Ethan Bronner, talks about what it was like to be the Times bureau chief in Jerusalem and about journalism and policy relating to Israel. That's here on Shalom TV and shalomtv.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Monday, November the 18th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.